Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's that time of year again. Doug Censor Martin coming at aBeZy saying he's fumbling the bag for not being the personality that he could be within Call of Duty. Saying that if Doug had aBeZy's skill, he'd be way bigger and more influential than he already is, and aBeZy's messing up the opportunity of a lifetime to be a bigger personality within the space. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. What do you guys think about this sort of stuff as well? Because it seems like, what is going on here? Seemingly there's people nowadays that just think they look really cool when they just have a high sensitivity and just spam buttons and fly around the map like this, thinking they're like, wow, their movement like absolute gods. Thing is, if you put these lads that are doing this type of stuff in an actual good lobby against good players that would like, you know, prim and prepare for them, they'd get absolutely smoked. It's only because they're playing against burgers that like this actually looks viable. So I mean, yeah, this is like, I don't know why people see this and think, oh wow, this guy's so skilled. It's like, hang on a second, lads, this guy's just spamming left and right and making it look cool, and honestly it just looks disgusting to watch in my personal opinion. Like, I don't know, back in the day people didn't used to do this stuff. It is what it is, I suppose. And of course, talking of movement merchants, we'll discuss a few in the coming minutes. Now this is quite a big one as well actually, because you know there's been the talk the last couple of years about people using Cronus's, Cronus Zens, Cronus Maxes to gain like either aim assist advantages or whatever they can pretend. I'm not exactly sure what Cronus's do, to be honest, in terms of giving players a competitive advantage, but that's been a talking point in the last couple of years, that players might be cheating using these devices. Now Fortnite apparently is now restricting hardware such that if players that are using these restricted devices, like it effectively can, well, it can detect whether you're using them, and if you are, then it gives you a warning and then effectively bans you from the game or something. Any attempts to bypass this restriction will result in a permanent ban from Fortnite. So restricted devices include, but are not limited to, Cronus Zen and Cronus Max. Now like, whether Call of Duty can actually figure out how to even do this, that's another question entirely, but also if they can, that'd be a really cool thing, right? I think it's been a big talking point in the kind of challenger scene the last couple of titles. You know, people are saying, well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, or whatever the case is, right? We want these things to be gone, or we want people to just be using controllers without any dodgy stuff attached to them. And there's been a question about certain players the last couple of years, whether they're using anything dodgy, and apparently Fortnite is cracking down on this idea. Maybe Call of Duty could or should follow suit. Whether they can, of course, is another question as well. Now, I wanted to mention a couple of things about Methodz. This I thought was pretty funny from 2021, but many have been going back to previous titles, COD War, for example, other games as well on the menu. Of course, as I said earlier today, potentially next weekend at the Modern Warfare 2 beta, if Search and Destroy is in the game, the pros might find a way to kind of do like a custom game chow, or at least give it a go. Most of the time though, they're going back to older titles. And of course, there is a big tournament coming up next month for, well, Melee, but also Black Ops 2 at the 25k Invitational that's going on there. Really exciting stuff, 10k Invitational, how much money's on the line. But yeah, many of course, I'm sure getting lined up for that one. But of course, Hitch is running another tournament in just a few days time, the $10,000 Black Ops Cold War tourney. So that's maybe why I imagine some of these guys are going back to Cold War to get some practice in, and even Methodz, I believe, is trying to put together a team. So exciting stuff. aBeZy's playing in this with a couple of teammates. aBeZy, Joe Deceived, I think, and then a couple of other ones. They were getting some practice in last night, and well, Doug, of course, has still been playing Vanguard, as you might expect from the guy. Built different as per usual. Even Arcitys looking to get involved as well. So definitely looking forward to this one. Some exciting times ahead over the coming days, and even I thought this is pretty funny from Hitch, who found up this thread from 2018 with Methodz throwing some absolute haymakers from, I mean, this is like way back in the day, obviously. I mean, John's hand, like, honestly almost got taken off there. Methodz just trying to, like, absolutely break his teammate's hand right here. I don't know what was going on. Like, he was, I mean, look at this guy, he's absolutely going rogue. So, I mean, yeah, anyway, I thought this was pretty funny regardless. Now, speaking of Methodz, this I thought was pretty good, as he says here, aBeZy first came back GG, so he's going into a hardpoint raid. I'm guessing he's just headed straight into a ranked match, and then Methodz has gone 53 and 27, like, dropped the most damage in the lobby, had a lot of the hill time as well. Even Texas Dashy here on his team did pretty well, 2.5 minutes in the hardpoint. I guess I can bring this up on the big screen to some degree. And as you guys can see on the right-hand side, like, the nemesis was aBeZy, but he killed him 19 times. aBeZy only got him 10 times. So Methodz, of course, wanted to publicize this straight away. The World Championship winner from 2021, aBeZy, like, well, getting smoked here, so I got out of aBeZy, and then, of course, aBeZy even comes in the replies and says, you love my attention, right? So I thought it was a pretty funny back and forth, really. aBeZy's like, look, hang on a second, Methodz, why are you tweeting scoreboards just like this? But aBeZy and others in his position have been a big talking point of the last few weeks, not just for all the FaZe drama, but also the fact that, you know, Crim6 has now got on to retire from Call of Duty. Like, we've seen Formal step away, we've seen Karma step away. A lot of the big personalities that are in the scene are getting to the kind of twilight of their careers, and either are retiring about now or are about to, right? We don't know when Scump's going to step away. Hopefully he stays around for 2-3 more years, but I think we've said 2-3 more years for about 2 or 3 more years. So we know Scump's going to be here
here for one more season? Would he be here for longer? Who knows? Honestly, what the plan was to be there. I was wondering, of course, when the whole OpTic situation went down, whether they were thinking, you know what, iLLeY, put him to the bench for a season so he can help with the coaching stuff and make sure his thumb's okay, and then get Hydra in or something as the another SMG alongside Shotzzy. Scump can be the flex. I think this was maybe a consideration for them, and then maybe Scump retires after this year and then iLLeY comes in. There's been a lot of speculation if Scump wants to stay competing, of course, he will, but we've known for quite some time losing Scump is going to be a big hit to the scene, as in fairness already is the likes of Crimsic stepping away. Now, I don't necessarily think that just because Crim's stepping away, it means that he's not going to be part of the scene. He's still going to be streaming, making content, talking about Call of Duty, talking about what's going on, so he's still going to be involved in the scene and giving his perspective to a certain extent. But in terms of players within the league themselves, like, you know, a lot of the big personalities that made the scene and built the scene over the last several years aren't really there anymore, right? A lot of the time nowadays, it's guys that came up in the more recent era where being a massive personality isn't necessarily so required because the money's already built up to the point where you can just be a player, get your salary, make your tournament winnings, and that's enough to sustain you. You don't have to be a mega personality, you know, making content streamer like you used to be back in the day to actually make it a viable occupation. So that's kind of the era that Doug comes from, and he recognizes this with a lot of the most talented players in the league, even the likes of, you know, aBeZy and Simp or whatever. Some of the, you know, biggest players, that they're on FaZe as an organization. They could be way bigger in terms of personalities and brand than they are, but yet, you know, their fundamental focus is on winning and being the best COD player, which I guess is fair enough. But Doug says, look, they could be way better, and especially when they retire, like, it won't be quite the same for them.
That's what I noticed about him as he's aged, as he's grown up. He doesn't give his opinion publicly. He's very good at, like, being a professional private person, and I don't blame him. Like, he's one of the best players in the game. He's on one of the best teams in the game. He's representing a big org. If I'm him, though, I'm making way more content. Bro, you give me the FaZe name, look what I did with it. aBeZy's had the FaZe name for years, and he's literally one of the best in the game. So he's probably looking at it like, I want to honor my contract, I want to get my salary, and I want to win championships. Anything else is second. And they probably just don't give a f- about anything else. Like, they're the best in the game, and they just want to be the best in the game. But I definitely think he's fumbling the bag. aBeZy could be so much bigger, bro. If I gave him what's in my brain and put it in his brain, that kid could be he could be way bigger than COD right now. Like, it's dope. He's literally the face of COD, if not one of the faces of COD, because of how good he is. But it's like, bro, you got to capitalize on that even higher. Like, do more with it. Like, you got so much opportunity, bro. Oh, if I had aBeZy's talent and I was doing what he was doing in the league, bro, I'd be taking the whole game by storm, bro.
By a streak.
Doug loves Vanguard. I know, dude. I'm never, dude. Nah, I'm not. I can't speak on Doug, bro. I don't know. He's an anomaly of a person. I've never seen anything like it, bro. No.
Now, of course, despite Doug saying that, right, about how aBeZy's kind of fumbling the bag and not being what he could be, right, as his personality, which I certainly agree with to a certain extent, it's not like aBeZy doesn't say anything, though. Like, aBeZy's a pretty entertaining character in a way. He appears on a fair few TacticalRab thumbnails, which is usually a good indicator of how interesting someone is as a personality. And, like, well, for example, he said this right after the World Championship. Thank God I never have to play this game again. Literally the worst game I've ever played. It was pretty fantastic. And, of course, even most recently when he was talking about the RC situation, and he was certainly kind of getting into the weeds of this and responding and saying a fair few things as well. So it's not like aBeZy is entirely irrelevant from the discussion, but you know, characters like aBeZy that come up nowadays, the best players in the game, they're not quite the characters we used to have back in the day. Now, I don't necessarily think this is a disaster for COD in the sense that we do still have some interesting personalities arriving, and just because aBeZy might not be that guy, might not be the guy who's going to be on stream all the time and pull in thousands of viewers, like, not everyone has a personality like that. And that is okay in fairness, but I do feel like some of the guys from, let's say, you know, 5-10 years ago when it was really building up, guys like aBeZy would have come onto the scene and they would have given it a go on the content side, and they'd have built up their personality into something more than, you know, aBeZy currently is, right? You could argue, and look, there's other guys coming up. Pred, interesting character, like Scrappy, you know, Drazah, for example. These guys that come on the scene, there's still some personalities around, right? We've got Methodz, like Slasher. There's some big guys. Obviously, Clayster, hopefully, he's still in the league. Scump, of course. All the OpTic guys. So, look, of course, Call of Duty is running its personalities. We've known that for a very long period of time, that it's the personalities that keep this game time ticking over. We know the game has never really been the greatest. It's going to be a big challenge to grow the scene from the CDL's perspective by trying to bring maybe casual viewers across to competitive play. It really is that the kind of, well, the drama between the players that keeps things ticking over. And aBeZy's never really been the guy to make a load of content and kind of fit into that mold in a certain extent. So, you know, look, do you think that Doug has a point on this one? I know that he says this rather often. We see this talking point really arrive every year at some point or another, saying that like aBeZy and Simp, they've got to do a bit more. Now, it's not like Simp doesn't make any content. We'll see in a second that Simp does make, you know, some videos from time to time, and people do rather like those videos. And some people's personalities aren't necessarily built for content in the same way that some others are. But also, I think it's in the same vein. It's like, it's not like people are necessarily built for content or not. You can kind of learn and acquire that skill set if it is required. Like someone like Methodz, for example, when he was like a kid or whatever, he might not have had the same personality that he does today. But he's been in the scene for so many years, like when he was streaming and kind of getting into the scene back in the day, all the people around him were making content. They were trying to be funny, like build up their brand, build up their personality, because that was the only way, by, you know, making Twitch streams and being one of the most notable COD players, that you could actually make money doing that back in the day, because the salaries weren't as they were today. So therefore, guys like Methodz are putting in the time to eventually become really entertaining personalities that they are today, whereas nowadays, players like aBeZy aren't necessarily surrounded, like in the kind of, in their peer group, let's say, by players that are doing that right. It's more about the winning, it's more about, you know, getting the job done in the server, which makes sense right at the end of the day. And there is the money nowadays to kind of make that a viable decision. But after aBeZy retires, you know, what's the plan there? Does he have the stream backing built up? Of course, like aBeZy's not going to retire for quite some time, but you guys know what I mean. He's not going to so easily be able to just shift into content like a lot of these other guys. Crim has no issues. He can just do content. Scump, like, you know, obviously Formal is now a pro in the Halo side, but you guys know what I mean. These legends of the scene, Methodz in a very similar boat as well. And Doug is thinking, well, look, even Doug himself is able to effectively do that while supporting his challengers career. And he's looking at aBeZy and he's thinking, well, you know, this guy, he's not doing what he could do, not just for the scene, but also for himself and the longevity, right? This is something that Hex has talked a fair bit about as well, that it's like, look, it's not just about setting these guys up for the now, it's about setting them up for the next, you know, 5-10 years. What do they do after they're done? Like, you know, that's something you build while you're competing. And look, Simp does do his content. I think he was streaming a couple of days ago. He's making some YouTube videos now as well, which is certainly a good sign. Good to see Simp back on the grinds, but it is just not quite the same as some of the OGs, right? So look, I think there is some concern within the scene about when all the, you know, the kind of old heads move on, then things are going to get far less entertaining. I certainly think that's a thing to some degree. Thankfully, we do have some good personalities coming up through the ranks, but it's not quite in the numbers maybe than they used to be back in the day. But yeah, definitely tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Speaking of Scump and Censor, right, this is way back in the day, but yeah, Breaking Boy and Omar managed to put together every major winning moment from the 2011 season back in Black Ops 1. Look at this team as well, Quantic Leverage from back in the day with the Eggs team and Scump here on the right hand side, and he was on this team even, this is pre-OpTic days for Scump, like in the early part of this title. So absolute scenes. Of course, Doug won an event back in that year as well. So yeah, these guys have been around for a long time, but that's the thing, back in the day, you couldn't just make, you know, you had to do other stuff outside of just competing to actually make any money, because there wasn't much money in playing competitive Call of Duty. Nowadays, of course, a rather different story, but very much into your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit a like button, told you YouTube gods, this is a good video, and I was like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.